I love sports. I think that's something a lot of people today can say. Sports is kind of an escape from the world that we live in. Not many of us like to work our jobs, but sports gives us something else to focus on, something we can put our time and our energy into. Sports brings both joy and sadness. But for the past few weeks, I think this is the best time to be a fan of sports. You know, the NBA Finals just wrapped up. Congrats to the Knicks fans. But right after that, with no time in between, the World Cup started, which is the biggest sporting event in the world. And I think one of the best parts about sports, of course, it's seeing the winners, seeing people achieve their dreams. But something people forget about is seeing the losers as well. There's a beauty in both winning and losing. And I think that's something a lot of people forget. We all love to focus on the winners, which is great. They achieve something that most of us will never achieve. But I really love focusing on the losers as well, seeing their reactions. And every single game, I'm seeing these grown men who put so much time and so much effort. They're breaking down in tears when they lose. Specifically, the Croatia versus Portugal match. I was rooting for Croatia, and they definitely got robbed last minute. But just seeing the raw emotion on these guys' face, it really, really affected me. And I always think to myself, like, if I were in their position, I don't think I could ever recover from that. I would definitely be crying like a baby. But how do you bounce back from that? Like, these players that lost, they have to wait 4 more years to even participate again. And some of the players, like Luka Modric, they have to retire living with that loss. So I've been thinking, for us today that aren't in these huge positions, it's important for us to learn to lose in smaller ways so that when we do eventually lose in a larger scale, we know how to bounce back. Now, in my case, ever since I was a kid, I always loved to win. No matter what I did. I loved to win at school, with my grades. I loved to win at sports, video games. Everything was a competition to me. And this isn't to brag, but I was pretty good at most of the things I did. So I've gotten pretty comfortable being in the winning spot as a kid. But as I've gotten older and I entered the adult world, I started to learn just how much you lose when you get older. If you still play sports, now you're playing against other adults who've done this for longer, so you'll lose more often. It's not as easy to win as it used to be when you were a kid. So if you don't know how to lose by the time you get into adulthood, it is going to be a crazy reality check. Because you start to lose in things like job interviews. You lose money. You can lose a house or a car if you're unfortunate. You could lose pets. You lose a lot at relationships. So there are just so many more opportunities to lose when you get older. And that's just something I've become more aware of as I've gotten older. And those are some pretty harsh examples. But in order to not crumble under all of this loss, we need to become comfortable with failure. Now, I'm not saying to go out and gamble your house away and feel the pain, but I am saying to start trying things that aren't guaranteed success. Maybe attempt learning a new instrument, or starting a book that might be a little too hard to understand. If you like to work out like me, maybe set a weight goal that you might not hit. If you just get comfortable with this losing position, you will be that much quicker to get up when life eventually does deck you in the face. Now let's shift on to Argentina versus Capo Verde yesterday. I'm an Argentinian, so I was rooting for Argentina. It was a brutal game to watch. I was running around the house screaming, basically in tears. But at the end, when Capo Verde lost, some of their players, they were on the floor crying, but their goalie, who has gotten really famous lately, he picked them up. He encouraged them. Sure, he had tears in his eyes, but he bounced back. He bounced back the same night of. Now, if I was in his position, I don't think I could have done that. He has a lot of strength to do that. And that's just something that I want to get better at as I get older. And I think that's something all of us can get better at together, because we do lose a lot. So in other words, just get comfortable with failure. Get comfortable with rejection, even losing. That's an important side of life that we just seem to be missing now that everything is like spoon-fed to us. Everything is made to be comfortable for us. We were all born with silver spoons in our mouths, especially in this country, that we've forgotten what it's like to lose. And that's why today you see these grown men like throwing tantrums and flipping out in parking lots and stores because they just can't handle being uncomfortable. And it's a sad thing, really. But yeah, that's just what's been on my mind lately. Of course, we want to win, set your goals high, try to win, but don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to lose every once in a while. But yeah, this is my first YouTube video ever, so I hope the message came clear a bit. Maybe I was rambling just for a bit. I just wanted to keep this as like a diary for me, because I do like to think, and there's not many people you could have deep conversations with without them looking at you like you're crazy. I promise I'm not crazy, bros. And one last thing, I'm not advertising the just lock in, bro mentality. There's a lot of flaws with that too, and we'll get into that in another video, but set your sights high, don't be afraid to fail. That's kind of all I have to say. Go Argentina!